Welcome to day 2 of Bible Book Club. Since it's supposed to have a book club feel, I decided to start it out with reading what I wrote in my journal about day 1's reading. So instead of just reading it, the whole point is to absorb it, right? And meditate on it and all that good stuff, see what you got out of it. So for Romans 1 and 2, is about Paul writing to the Romans about the goodness of Jesus. He told them that he is against sin, naming a few like murder, fornication. Jesus against sin, of course. So Jesus is against it, Paul's against it. So the sins like murder, fornication, backbiting, covenant breaking, disobedient to parents, and so on. Paul said God would give people that deny him over to a reprobate mind, him as in Jesus. He also wrote about how God has no respect of persons, Jew or Greek, circumcised or uncircumcised. It's about whether or not you recognize the lordship of Jesus and live like you know him. So that's from Romans 1 and 2, day 1. Now, day 2's reading is Genesis chapters 1 through 3. So after I read it, I'll write in my journal. And when I write for day 2, I'll read on day 3 and so on. I'm going to go ahead and go over my thoughts from day 2's reading, which was Genesis chapters 1 through 3. And just share what I wrote down, and then we'll get into today's reading of Joshua chapters 1 through 5 in the King James Version of the Bible. All right, so as familiar as I am with the story of creation, 2 things jumped out that I've never thought about before. The first is that before sin came into play, not only did the humans not eat animals, but the animals were also herbivores as well. The Bible tells us that eating meat is not a sin. Still, I've always felt weird about it since the need / desire to do so is a result of sin. Realizing even the animals weren't carnivorous before the fall of man makes it worse. Second thing that jumped out was when God was giving Eve her punishment, part of it was her husband shall rule over her. Considering how she was created, I thought God meant for that to be the case since she was essentially a gift to man, right? She was a gift to Adam. But how do you treat a gift? Like if you really like it, you treat it really well. And that, of course, changed when sin was introduced, right? So now we have the man ruling and patriarchy, and patriarchy is biblical, but it's problematic because of sin, which is also why it exists, right? So it's problematic and it's a result of sin. And sin is what makes it problematic. So, it's just, I think about patriarchy a lot as a woman, and how even though it's biblical, it's always just like so many problems that come from it. But it's all about just getting, having the right head, whether that leadership is your your spouse or your pastor. But at the same time, like, you can't choose your father, so it's just some ego in the world that we have to deal with sometimes just because of our existence and living in a world of sin. All right, so those are my thoughts on Genesis chapters 1 through 3. Good morning. I'm going to go ahead and read my thoughts on Judges, the first 5 chapters, and then we'll get into the reading for today, which is Psalms chapters 1 and 2. Personal fave, Psalms in general, not just 1 and 2. All right, so now that we're not under the law, it's the complete teaching of the Holy Bible that we're to meditate upon day and night. I forgot that God recreated moments from Moses' story for when Joshua came into leadership. That's cool. I also didn't remember that they didn't circumcise during the wilderness journey. I wonder if it's because it would have slowed them down. That's really all I had to say about the first 5 chapters of Joshua. Oh, Psalms. Psalms, okay. So I wrote, God is scary. I know we're supposed to fear him as in revere, but sometimes the scriptures, they have me shook. I heard a song recently, and one of the lines is, the fire in your eyes isn't anger. I'm not in danger. I know goodness is your nature. And that line ruins the song for me because God does get angry, and if you're among the unrighteous, one of the chaff, you will be destroyed. So, that whole God is love, like, yeah, he's love, but he's also a consuming fire. He also will allow people who do not choose him to burn in hell. So, like, it can be scary. Good morning. Getting into what I wrote after I wrote what I wrote after thinking about reading what I read in Job chapters 1 through 2. I said some people think Job wasn't a real person like the other greats we read about in the Bible. They say his story is allegorical or just an example of how the Lord wants us to be. I believe he was real, and I'm always impressed by him. I want to be perfect by the Lord's standard. I've discussed it often with my pastor when I go to him for counseling. Then I read about Job, and I'm reminded that I'm not there. This time, I wasn't discouraged though, because what made Job perfect is putting God first always, even before himself. I know what I have to do, which means I can begin taking the steps to make it happen. This is what I wrote about yesterday's reading, Isaiah chapters 1 through 6. The children of Israel always get on my nerves. I saw a meme just last night. It was about how they always choose idols at the slightest inconvenience. It's so annoying because they had God, the real one, on their side, but really they're just like us. We do the same mess. Worshipping the creation over the Creator is weird, especially when we claim to believe in Him. We don't have a Judah or a Jerusalem, no city for the saved. Sometimes I wish we could isolate ourselves, but the Bible has showed us it doesn't work. Thank you, Lord, for your grace and mercy. Yesterday's musings, I said. This is for Matthew chapters 1 through 2. I'm so glad that Jesus was born. His is the only genealogy that interests me. It's always a struggle for me to get through the ones in the Old Testament. Hopefully, I'll grow to appreciate the information this time around. I wonder how I'd react if an angel that I knew was an angel appeared to me in a dream or in person. I'd like to think that I'd do exactly what they told me to do. Mary and Joseph were shining examples of that. I always wished we got more of Jesus' upbringing with his parents in the Bible, but I can understand why it's not necessary. Okay.